I think I didn't do anything wrong, just fell asleep on my ex's couch after too many drinks at a reunion. But now my husband served me with legal papers, and everyone's acting like I'm some kind of villain. All I did was crash at a friend's place, so why does it feel like my entire life is on trial? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The ride home felt longer than it should have, sunlight slicing through the car windows like judgment. Every vibration of my phone made my stomach twist tighter. By the time I reached our driveway, Simon's car was already gone, which told me everything I needed to know. Inside, the house was silent except for the low hum of the refrigerator. Maya's breakfast plate still sat on the table. Half a pancake, a smear of syrup, the evidence of an ordinary morning that had ended differently for everyone but me. My phone buzzed again. A message from Caroline. "You okay? Everyone's freaking out about that photo, LOL." I turned the screen face down and pressed both hands to the counter, trying to slow my breathing. Then came the text that froze me completely. From Simon. I saw the post. I don't even know what to say anymore. Maya's with my mom for the weekend. We'll talk when I've cooled off. I sank onto the kitchen stool, reading it again and again until the words blurred. He'd been right to worry, and I'd been too proud to admit it. It hadn't been an affair, not yet, but it didn't matter. To the rest of the world, the photo said everything I'd sworn I'd never do. I scrolled back through my messages to the one I'd sent him at 2:14 a.m. Crashing at a friend's, don't wait up. The kind of lie that sounded harmless until it wasn't. By mid-afternoon, the Facebook post had vanished, but the damage was done. Friends had seen it. Co-workers had seen it. Simon's sister had commented before deleting her words, something about patterns repeating. I could almost hear the whispers forming, spreading, rewriting who I was. When my father called that evening, his voice was gentle but heavy. "Aurelia," he said, "you need to think very carefully about what matters most to you. One careless night can destroy years of trust." I wanted to argue, to tell him it wasn't what it looked like. But as I sat alone in that kitchen, the air thick with silence, I realized it didn't matter what had or hadn't happened on Dylan's couch. What mattered was that I'd given everyone, including Simon, a reason to stop believing me. And as the sun went down behind the blinds, I finally stopped pretending it had been an innocent night. It hadn't. It had been a choice, and choices always come due. The silence that followed was unbearable. The sound of Simon closing the bedroom door was small, almost polite, but it hit like a hammer. I stood frozen in the kitchen, watching Linda scroll through her phone as if cataloging my failures. Kelsey shifted uncomfortably, her arms folded like a shield. "Do you really think this will help?" I asked finally, my voice trembling despite every effort to keep it steady. "Digging through my messages like I'm some criminal?" Linda didn't look up. "If you'd done nothing wrong, there'd be nothing to find. You've already made up your mind." "I didn't have to," she said flatly. "You made everyone else's for them." The minutes dragged. Every sound from down the hall, the soft creak of the floorboards, the faint tapping of keys, felt like a countdown. By the time Simon returned, his face was pale and set, the kind of calm that made my stomach drop. He placed my phone on the counter, screen up, message thread open. "You deleted most of them," he said quietly. My throat went dry. "Because I didn't want to deal with this, with you reading things out of context and assuming the worst." He nodded slowly, as if that confirmed everything. Out of context. Right. He turned the phone toward me. A single line glowed on the screen, a message from Dylan that I hadn't deleted fast enough. "Dylan, still thinking about last night? Wish we'd talked longer." The words looked different now, sinister in their simplicity. "It wasn't like that," I said, but the explanation sounded weak even to my own ears. "We were just catching up. He meant the conversation. Simon's voice was soft, almost detached. You were gone all night. You lied about where you were. And now you're saying this is nothing? It is nothing, I snapped. You're blowing this so far out of proportion. Linda exhaled sharply, the sound full of scorn. A married woman doesn't fall asleep on another man's couch and call it nothing. Stay out of this. I turned on her, the heat rising in my chest. This is between me and Simon. Actually, Simon said, his tone cold enough to stop me mid-sentence. It's between all of us now, because you made it public. You made our marriage public. He gestured toward the phone, toward the invisible audience of strangers and acquaintances who'd seen that photo. You turned us into entertainment. For a moment, no one spoke. The hum of the refrigerator filled the space between us. Simon, please, I said, my anger collapsing into something closer to panic. Don't do this in front of them. Just talk to me. Please. But his eyes were distant. I don't even know who you are anymore. He walked past me, out the door, the sound of it closing echoing through the kitchen. Linda followed, murmuring something to Kelsey about taking Maya for the night. I didn't stop them. When the house was finally empty, I sank onto the floor beside the kitchen island. My phone buzzed. Another message from Dylan. You okay? I stared at it for a long time before typing a single reply. Don't contact me again. Then I threw the phone across the room, where it landed against the wall with a dull crack. For the first time, the silence of the house didn't feel peaceful. It felt like judgment, cold, absolute, and earned. The next few days passed in a haze of whispered conversations and meaningful looks. Simon moved through the house like a ghost, polite but distant, answering direct questions with monosyllables and spending most of his time locked in our bedroom with my devices. I tried to maintain normalcy for Maya's sake, but even my 8-year-old daughter could sense the shift in our household's atmosphere. She started having trouble sleeping, appearing in my doorway at odd hours with complaints of bad dreams. Is Daddy sick? She asked one morning, climbing into bed beside me. Simon had already left for work, or at least left the house. I wasn't entirely sure where he was going these days. No, baby, Daddy's just stressed about work. Are you and Daddy getting divorced? The question hit me like a physical blow. What? No. Why would you ask that? Because Tommy's parents got divorced, and his mom said they were just stressed about work too. I pulled her closer, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. Daddy and I are just going through a rough patch. All married people do sometimes. It doesn't mean we're getting divorced. But even as I said it, I wondered if I was lying. My father called that afternoon, his voice carefully neutral in the way it got when he was trying not to take sides in family drama. How are you holding up, sweetheart? I'm fine, Dad. Everyone's just overreacting. Your sister's been posting quite a bit on social media. I closed my eyes. Caroline's defense of me had become increasingly aggressive over the past few days, turning my Facebook feed into a battleground between my supporters and Simon's. She'd started a whole thread about controlling husbands and victim blaming that had garnered dozens of comments and shares. I know. I've asked her to stop. Have you? Well, I've asked her to tone it down. There was a pause. Aurelia, I'm worried about Maya. Your mother and I would be happy to have her stay with us for a few days if things are tense at home. Things aren't tense, and Maya is fine. Is she? Because her teacher called us yesterday. We're still listed as emergency contacts. My stomach dropped. What did she say? That Maya's been having trouble concentrating. That she seems anxious. She asked if there were any changes at home we should know about. There are no changes at home, I said firmly. Simon's just being dramatic about nothing, and Maya's picking up on it. Once he calms down, everything will go back to normal. Will it? Yes. But I wasn't sure I believed that anymore. That evening, I tried to talk to Simon. Really talk. not just exchange logistics about Maya's schedule or who was picking up groceries. I found him in the guest room, which had apparently become his new bedroom, sitting on the bed with a legal pad covered in his careful handwriting. "What's that?" I asked, settling beside him uninvited. He closed the pad. "Notes." "About what?" "About this situation." "What kind of notes?" He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something in his expression that made me want to leave the room. "The kind my lawyer suggested I keep." "Your lawyer?" The words came out as a squeak. "Simon, you don't need a lawyer. This is ridiculous." "Is it?" "Yes. It's one night, one stupid mistake in judgment, and you're acting like I had an affair." "Did you?" The question hung between us like a loaded gun. "No, I told you nothing happened." "Nothing happened. Nothing happened." He opened the legal pad again, made a note. "Okay? Okay? Okay." He looked up at me. "Can you explain why you deleted your text thread with Dylan?" My mouth went dry. "I didn't delete anything." "You did. The entire conversation history between you and Dylan Shaw, deleted sometime between Sunday morning and when you gave me your phone." "I don't know what you're talking about." He made another note. "Okay. Simon, stop writing things down and talk to me." "I am talking to you. I asked you a direct question, and you lied to me. I'm documenting that." "You're documenting?" I stared at him. "Who are you right now?" "I'm your husband. The husband you apparently think is stupid enough to believe that you coincidentally ran into your ex-boyfriend at a bar, coincidentally drank too much, coincidentally went home with him, and coincidentally deleted all evidence of your communications with him." "It wasn't coincidental. Dylan was at the reunion. I knew he'd be there." "You knew he'd be there?" "Yes. And you went anyway." "Yes, because I'm allowed to have friends." "Friends." Another note. "Is that what you call someone you used to sleep with?" "That was over 10 years ago." "Was it?" "Yes." "Then why did you search how to permanently delete text messages on Sunday morning at 6:47 a.m.? I felt the blood drain from my face. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Your browser history, Aurelia. You searched for ways to delete text messages, how to clear call logs, and whether deleted messages can be recovered, all before you gave me your phone." "I was just what?" "Just trying to avoid exactly this. I knew you'd read too much into innocent conversations." "Innocent conversations that you felt the need to hide from your husband." "Yes, because you're being crazy." He wrote something else down, then closed the pad and stood up. "I'm sleeping in here from now on." "Simon, I need some space to think." "About what?" "About whether I believe you." He left me sitting on the guest bed, staring at the wall and wondering how everything had spiraled so far out of control. It was one night. One stupid, harmless night, and somehow it had become this thing that was threatening to tear apart my entire life. I called Caroline. "Thank God," she said by way of greeting. "I've been worried sick. How are you holding up?" "Simon hired a lawyer." "He what? That controlling asshole. Aurelia, you need to fight back. You can't let him intimidate you like this." "I'm not being intimidated. I'm trying to save my marriage." "Your marriage to a man who doesn't trust you, who's documenting your every word like you're a criminal. Honey, maybe this marriage isn't worth saving." "Don't say that." "I'm just saying, you deserve better than this. You deserve someone who believes in you. Simon used to believe in me. And now he doesn't. What does that tell you about his character?" I wanted to argue, but I was too tired, too confused. Everything Caroline was saying made sense, but it also felt wrong somehow, like I was missing something important. "I should go. Maya needs dinner." "Okay, but Aurelia, don't let him make you feel like the villain here. You didn't do anything wrong." But as I hung up and headed downstairs to face my family, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe I had. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of artificial cheerfulness that comes from trying too hard to pretend everything is normal. I made pancakes, Maya's favorite, and set the table with the good plates, as if proper dishware could somehow fix the cracks in our foundation. Simon came downstairs dressed in khakis and a button-down shirt, looking more formal than a Saturday morning warranted. "Going somewhere?" I asked, flipping a pancake with perhaps more force than necessary. "Yes." "Where?" "Out." Maya looked between us, her fork suspended halfway to her mouth. "Can I come with you, Daddy?" "Not today, sweetheart. Maybe next weekend." "But you said we were going to work on my science project." Simon's face softened slightly. "We'll work on it tomorrow, okay? I promise." After he left, I tried to salvage the day. Maya and I went to the park, got ice cream, did all the things that usually made her smile, but she remained subdued, asking questions I didn't know how to answer. "Why is Daddy sleeping in the guest room?" "He's just having trouble sleeping. Sometimes grown-ups need their own space." "Is it because of the pictures?" I stopped pushing her on the swing. "What pictures?" "The ones on Caroline's phone. She showed Grandpa Paul yesterday." My sister had been at my father's house with Maya while I was at work. The idea of her showing my 8-year-old daughter the Facebook photos made me feel sick. "Maya, those pictures aren't important, okay? Sometimes people take pictures at the wrong moment, and they look like something they're not. Like when you took that picture of me and it looked like I was picking my nose but I was really just scratching it. Exactly like that." But she didn't look convinced. Simon came home late that afternoon carrying a manila folder and wearing an expression I'd never seen before. Determined, maybe, or resigned. "We need to talk," he said. "Okay, let me just—" "Maya's going to your father's for the night." "What? Why?" "Because we need to have a conversation without little ears around." An hour later, Maya was packed and gone, leaving Simon and me alone in a house that suddenly felt too big and too quiet. He sat across from me at the kitchen table, the manila folder between us like a weapon. "I saw a lawyer yesterday." The words hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd been expecting them. "Simon, let me finish." His voice was steady, controlled. "I've been thinking about this situation, about our marriage, about what I want for Maya and myself." "What about what I want?" "What do you want, Aurelia?" The question should have been easy to answer, but somehow it wasn't. What did I want? For this to all go away? For things to go back to how they were? For Simon to stop looking at me like I was a stranger? "I want my husband back," I said finally. "Do you?" "Because the husband you had was apparently controlling and paranoid and not attractive when he expressed concerns about his wife spending the night at her ex-boyfriend's apartment." "I didn't mean—" "You did mean it. And you know what? Maybe I was those things. Maybe I was controlling for not wanting my wife to sleep over at another man's house. Maybe I was paranoid for thinking there might be more to the story than what you were telling me." He opened the folder and I saw papers, official-looking papers with legal letterhead. "But I'm not those things anymore. Now I'm just a man who's been lied to by his wife, and I'm done pretending that's okay." "I never lied to you." "You deleted your text messages with Dylan." "That's not lying, that's just—" "You told Maya that Daddy doesn't want to be with us anymore." I felt my face flush. "I never said that. Yesterday, when she asked why I was sleeping in the guest room, you told her it was because Daddy needed space, and sometimes that means people don't want to be together." "That's not what I said." "Maya repeated it to your father word for word. He called me." I stared at him, trying to remember the exact conversation. Had I said that? Maybe. It was possible. But I hadn't meant it the way it sounded. "Simon, I'm sorry if I—" "You're sorry if you what? If you got caught? If your 8-year-old daughter repeated your manipulation back to her grandfather?" "I wasn't manipulating anyone." "Weren't you?" He pulled out a sheet of paper. "This is a printout of your family group chat from Tuesday. Would you like me to read it out loud? I didn't need him to. I remembered what I'd written, how I'd framed Simon's reaction as unreasonable, how I'd painted myself as the victim of his jealousy and paranoia. I was venting to my family. You were lying to your family, and you were doing it to make me look bad so they'd take your side. That's not. It is exactly that, Aurelia. And it worked, didn't it? Caroline's been all over social media defending you. Your father's been calling me, suggesting I'm overreacting. Even Kelsey started to doubt whether I was handling this right. Maybe because you are overreacting. Am I? He pulled out another paper. This is a bank statement. Can you explain the $300 cash withdrawal you made on Sunday? My mouth went dry. I needed cash. For what? I don't remember. Groceries, maybe. We have $47 worth of groceries in the house, all purchased with your debit card on Monday. Then I don't know what I spent it on. You don't know. No. You withdrew $300 in cash the day after spending the night at your ex-boyfriend's apartment, and you have no memory of what you spent it on. Maybe I put it in my wallet and forgot about it. Show me your wallet. I hesitated just a moment too long, and we both knew it. I spent it, I admitted. On what? I don't want to say. Why not? Because you'll twist it into something it's not. Try me. I closed my eyes, knowing how this was going to sound. I bought Dylan a thank you gift, for letting me crash at his place and for being a gentleman about it. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. You bought your ex-boyfriend a gift. A thank you gift. It was just a bottle of wine. A $300 bottle of wine. It was a nice bottle. The kind he likes. The kind we used to... I trailed off, realizing too late where that sentence was heading. The kind you used to drink together when you were dating. Simon, you bought your ex-boyfriend a $300 bottle of his favorite wine to thank him for being a gentleman when you spent the night at his apartment? When you say it like that, it sounds like what it is, Aurelia. It sounds like you're having an affair. I'm not having an affair. Then what are you having? I didn't have an answer for that. Or maybe I did, but I wasn't ready to say it out loud. Simon closed the folder and stood up. I've filed for legal separation. I'm asking for joint custody of Maya, with primary residence with me. I've also frozen our joint accounts pending a full financial review. You can't do that. I can, and I have. He picked up the folder. You'll be served with papers on Monday. Simon, please, can't we just talk about this? Can't we try counseling or... We are talking about it. Right now. And what I'm hearing is more lies, more manipulation, more of you treating me like I'm stupid enough to believe whatever story you're selling. That's not what I'm doing. Isn't it? He paused in the doorway. I loved you, Aurelia, I really did. But I don't even know who you are anymore. After he left, I sat alone in our kitchen, surrounded by the detritus of our life together. Maya's artwork on the refrigerator, our wedding photo on the counter, the coffee mug Simon had used that morning still sitting in the sink. My phone rang. Caroline. I saw Simon's car at a lawyer's office yesterday, she said without preamble. Please tell me you're getting your own representation. He filed for separation. That bastard! Aurelia, you need to fight this. You need to show him that you're not going to be bullied. Maybe he's right. What? Maybe I did lie to him. Maybe I did manipulate the situation. You protected yourself. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. And even if there isn't, so what? You're allowed to have friends. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to have a life outside of your marriage. Am I allowed to buy expensive gifts for my ex-boyfriend? There was a pause. You bought Dylan a gift? Wine, his favorite kind. How much wine? The expensive kind. Aurelia, I know how it sounds. It sounds like you might have feelings for this guy. I don't. Are you sure? I wasn't sure of anything anymore. The legal papers arrived on Monday morning via certified mail, handed to me by a postal worker who looked apologetic about delivering what was clearly bad news. I signed for them with shaking hands and immediately called in sick to work. The documents were dense with legal language, but the basic message was clear. Simon wanted out, and he had the evidence to back up his position. I called the number Caroline had given me for a divorce attorney, but after a brief consultation, the lawyer's advice was blunt. "Mrs. Fenwick, I'll be honest with you. Your husband has built a very strong case. The deleted messages, the financial records, the social media evidence, it doesn't look good. But I didn't actually cheat. Can you prove that?" What do you mean? Can you provide evidence that nothing physical happened between you and Mr. Shaw? Witnesses, alibis, anything that would contradict the narrative your husband is building? I thought about Dylan's apartment, about the hours we'd spent alone together, about the way he'd looked at me, and the way I'd felt seen for the first time in months. We were alone. I see. And the gift you purchased for him. Can you explain the reasoning behind that expenditure in a way that supports your claim of innocence? I was being polite. You spent $300 on politeness. It sounds bad when you say it like that. Mrs. Fenwick, it's going to sound bad when anyone says it like that, especially in court. Court. The word hit me like a physical blow. This was really happening. My marriage was ending, and it was going to be ugly and public and documented in legal proceedings that would follow me forever. What do you recommend? Honestly, try to settle out of court. Agree to reasonable custody arrangements. Don't fight the asset division, and hope your husband is feeling generous. After I hung up, I sat in my empty house and tried to figure out how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. It had been one night. One stupid, impulsive night, and now my entire life was falling apart. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I heard about the separation. I'm sorry. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. Dylan. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. How did you get this number? Caroline gave it to me. She thought you might need a friend. Of course she did. My sister, who had been posting increasingly aggressive defenses of my innocence on social media, had now given my contact information to the man at the center of this entire mess. I can't talk to you right now. I understand. But Aurelia, I want you to know that I never intended for any of this to happen. If I had known it would cause problems in your marriage, I never would have let you stay over. But you did let me stay over. You needed help. You were drunk and upset about your marriage. I was trying to be a friend. A friend who I bought a $300 bottle of wine for. There was a long pause before his response came through. You didn't have to do that. But I did do it. Why do you think I did it? Another pause. I think you were grateful. For what? For feeling like yourself again. For remembering who you used to be before you got married and had kids and settled into a life that doesn't really fit you. I stared at his words, feeling something twist in my chest. He was right. And that was the problem. For one night, I had felt like the person I used to be, young and interesting and desired, not just Simon's wife or Maya's mother, but Aurelia. Just Aurelia. I have to go, I typed. Okay. But Aurelia, you deserve to be happy. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for that. I deleted the conversation immediately, but it was too late. The damage was already done, and not just to my phone's message history. The mediation session was scheduled for Thursday afternoon in a sterile conference room that smelled like industrial carpet and broken dreams. Simon sat across from me with his lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who looked like she'd seen every variation of marital disaster and wasn't impressed by any of them. My lawyer, a younger man who'd been available on short notice and probably should have been my first red flag, shuffled through papers with the air of someone who knew he was outgunned. Let's start with the timeline, Simon's lawyer said, pulling out a thick folder. Mrs. Fenwick, you attended your college reunion on Saturday, October 14th. Is that correct? Yes. And you knew that Dylan Shaw, your former boyfriend, would be in attendance? Yes, but… Thank you. And during the evening you consumed alcohol? Yes. How much alcohol? I looked at my lawyer, who nodded encouragingly. I don't remember exactly. Several drinks. The bar receipt shows charges to Mr. Shaw's credit card totaling $127, which the bartender's statement indicates was for approximately 8 drinks over the course of 4 hours. Does that sound accurate? I guess. You guess. And at the end of the evening, instead of calling your husband or a taxi or a rideshare service, you chose to go home with Mr. Shaw? I didn't go home with him. I accepted a ride because I was too intoxicated to drive. To his apartment. Yes. Where you spent the night. On the couch. On the couch. She made a note. And the next morning you purchased a gift for Mr. Shaw? A thank you gift. A $300 bottle of wine. Yes. The same brand and vintage that you used to purchase regularly when you were dating Mr. Shaw in college? My mouth went dry. I don't know. You don't know. She slid a paper across the table. This is a credit card statement from 2012, showing multiple purchases of Caymus Cabernet from the same liquor store where you made your purchase on October 15th. You don't remember buying this specific wine multiple times during your relationship with Mr. Shaw? I stared at the paper, remembering lazy Sunday afternoons in Dylan's old apartment, sharing that exact wine and talking about our dreams for the future. Dreams that hadn't included Simon or Maya or any of the life I'd built after college. I might have bought it before. You might have. And when you gave this gift to Mr. Shaw, did you include a note? A note? She slid another paper across the table. A photocopy of a card in my handwriting. Thank you for reminding me who I used to be. A. I felt the blood drain from my face. Where did you get this? Mr. Shaw provided it, along with these. She opened another folder, and my heart stopped. Screenshots of text messages. Messages I had deleted, messages I thought were gone forever. These are the text messages between you and Mr. Shaw, recovered from his phone. Would you like me to read them aloud, or would you prefer to review them privately first? I didn't need to review them. I remembered every word, every late-night conversation that had started innocent and gradually become something else. Messages about feeling trapped, about missing the person I used to be, about wondering what would have happened if I'd made different choices. Mrs. Fenwick, the mediator prompted gently. I want to settle, I whispered. I'm sorry? I want to settle. Whatever Simon wants, I'll agree to it. My lawyer leaned over. Mrs. Fenwick, perhaps we should take a break and discuss… No. I looked across the table at Simon, who was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For what? Simon's lawyer asked. What specifically are you apologizing for? I closed my eyes. For lying? For deleting the messages? For buying Dylan a gift? For… I opened my eyes and looked directly at Simon. For having an emotional affair. The words hung in the air like a confession at a tribunal. Thank you for your honesty, the mediator said gently. Let's discuss terms. The courthouse smelled faintly of paper and old coffee, the kind of place where hope came to die quietly under fluorescent lights. I sat outside courtroom 3B in a stiff gray suit that didn't feel like mine, waiting for my turn to lose what was left of my family. My father sat beside me, Maya's stuffed bunny poking out of his briefcase where she'd tucked it for luck. He'd said all the things I didn't want to hear that morning, truthful, painful things about choices and consequences. And he was right. Inside, Judge Martinez was patient but unsparing. Joint custody, with primary residence awarded to Mr. Fenwick, she said, her tone soft but certain. This arrangement reflects stability for the child. I nodded and kept my hands folded so no one could see them shake. When she asked if I understood why the court was concerned, I said yes. When she asked if I understood why my husband was, I looked at Simon and said yes again. Because I did. For the first time, I truly did. The gavel fell. Simon gathered his papers, calm and professional. "I don't hate you," he said in the hallway afterward. "I'm just disappointed." Then he walked away. Outside, Caroline wanted to fight. "We'll appeal," she insisted. But I was finished with fighting. "I'm done pretending this isn't my fault," I told her. "I lied. I used our daughter to get attention. I deserve this." She didn't know what to say. That night, the house was too quiet. I sat in Maya's empty room, surrounded by the ghosts of bedtime stories and the hum of all the things I'd taken for granted. My phone rang. It was her. "Mommy, are you sad?" "A little," I said. "But I'll be okay." "Is Daddy sad too?" "Yeah, baby. Daddy's sad too." "Will you both be happy again?" "I hope so," I whispered. After we hung up, I stayed there in the dark, realizing that happiness wasn't something you found in other people. It was something you built when you finally stopped breaking things. I'd thought my story ended the night I slept on my ex's couch, but maybe it started here, in the quiet after losing everything. Maybe if I was careful, if I was honest, this could be the beginning of something better, something real. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.